The text message arrived at 2:47 a.m. while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my home office. The notification light on my phone pierced through the darkness like a warning beacon I should have heeded. Your wife isn't who you think she is. Meet me at Riverside Diner tomorrow at noon. Come alone. A friend. My name is David Thompson, and I've spent the last 15 years building a successful accounting firm in downtown Portland. I'm the kind of guy who double-checks everything, who believes in facts and figures over gut feelings. But something about that message made my stomach clench with dread. I glanced toward the bedroom, where Jennifer slept peacefully, her auburn hair spread across the pillow like silk. We'd been married for 12 years, and I thought I knew everything about her. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a local tech startup, loved weekend hiking trips, and made the best lasagna in Oregon. At least, that's what I believed, until that message arrived. The next morning, Jennifer kissed me goodbye as usual, her lips warm against my cheek. "Don't work too late tonight, honey," she said, adjusting my tie with practiced familiarity. "I'm making your favorite pot roast." I watched her drive away in her silver Honda, wondering if I was losing my mind. The rational part of my brain insisted the message was probably spam or some cruel prank. But the accountant in me knew that anomalies usually meant something was wrong with the books. At exactly noon, I pushed through the glass doors of Riverside Diner, a greasy spoon that served truckers and construction workers. The smell of bacon grease and burnt coffee filled the air as I scanned the red vinyl booths. In the corner sat a woman I recognized but hadn't seen in years. "Hello, David," said Rebecca Martinez, my former business partner. She looked older, thinner, with worry lines etched around her dark eyes. "Thank you for coming." I slid into the booth across from her, my hands trembling slightly. "Rebecca? I thought you moved to Seattle after we dissolved the partnership." "I did." She pushed a manila envelope across the scarred Formica table. "But I came back when I learned what Jennifer and my brother Carlos have been doing to you." Carlos Martinez. I remembered him vaguely from our college days, Rebecca's younger brother who always seemed to be looking for easy money. He'd disappeared from our social circle years ago after some trouble with gambling debts. "What are you talking about?" I asked, though part of me already feared the answer. Rebecca's expression grew grim. "Open the envelope, David, but prepare yourself. What you're about to see will change everything." Inside were photographs, bank statements, and printed emails. My hands shook as I examined each piece of evidence. The photos showed Jennifer entering a luxury apartment building downtown, then embracing a man I recognized as Carlos. The timestamps showed these visits occurred during her supposed work hours. But the financial documents were what really made my world crumble. Bank statements for accounts I'd never seen before, showing regular transfers from our joint savings, forged signatures on loan applications, credit cards opened in my name without my knowledge. "They've been systematically draining your assets for over 2 years," Rebecca explained quietly. "Carlos convinced Jennifer to help him. They're planning to disappear together once they've taken everything." I stared at a printed email from Jennifer to Carlos. "David suspects nothing. The fool actually thinks I'm working late when I'm with you. Another 50,000 transferred today. Soon we'll have enough to start fresh in Costa Rica." The words hit me like physical blows. 12 years of marriage, reduced to elaborate theft and mockery. I thought about all those late nights Jennifer claimed to be working, all those weekend business trips that now seemed like lies. "Why are you showing me this?" I managed to ask. Rebecca's jaw tightened. "Because Carlos dragged me into this mess. He used my old business connections to set up some of these fraudulent accounts. When I found out what he was doing, I tried to stop him. He laughed and said you deserved it for being so trusting." "What do you mean I deserved it?" "According to Carlos, you're just another wealthy mark who got lucky in business. He's been planning this con for years, waiting for the right opportunity. Meeting Jennifer at that charity gala was no accident. He sent her there specifically to target you." I remembered that night 3 years ago when Jennifer had insisted we attend the Children's Hospital fundraiser. She'd seemed unusually interested in attending, claiming her company was a sponsor. That's where she'd supposedly met Carlos for the first time, though now I realized they'd been working together all along. "How much have they taken?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Based on what I've traced, approximately $400,000, maybe more." Rebecca leaned forward, her voice urgent. "David, they're planning to make their final move soon. I overheard Carlos talking about liquidating your retirement accounts and disappearing within the week." $400,000, nearly half of everything I'd worked for, stolen by the woman I loved and her criminal brother. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound could have. "I need to call the police," I said, reaching for my phone. "Wait." Rebecca grabbed my wrist. "It's not that simple. They've been very careful about the paper trail. Most of the transfers appear legitimate because they have Jennifer's signatures and access to your accounts. A criminal case would take months to build, and by then they'll be long gone." "Then what do you suggest?" Rebecca's eyes hardened. "We make them pay, but we have to be smart about it. Carlos thinks he's untouchable because he's covered his tracks so well. He doesn't know I've been gathering evidence." I studied her face, seeing a determination that reminded me why we'd been successful business partners years ago. Rebecca had always been the strategic thinker, the one who could see 3 moves ahead. "What did you have in mind?" I asked. "Carlos is greedy. That's always been his weakness. If we can convince him there's an even bigger score available, we might be able to turn the tables." She pulled out another document. "This is a fake investment opportunity I've been developing. On paper, it looks like a chance to triple their stolen money in a matter of days." The document described a supposedly confidential real estate deal involving waterfront property. The numbers looked impressive, the kind of opportunity that would appeal to someone like Carlos who always wanted the quick score. "How does this help me get my money back?" I asked. "Simple. We make Carlos believe you're about to receive a huge inheritance or business windfall, something worth waiting for instead of fleeing the country immediately. While he's focused on this bigger prize, we document everything and freeze the accounts they've been using." It was risky, but I was running out of options. The thought of Jennifer and Carlos laughing about their successful con while living in luxury on my stolen money made anger burn in my chest. "I'm in," I said. "Tell me what I need to do." Rebecca smiled grimly. "First, we need to make you appear completely oblivious to their scheme. Go home tonight and act like nothing has changed. Can you do that?" The thought of pretending everything was normal with Jennifer made my stomach turn, but I nodded. "What about the fake investment opportunity?" "Leave that to me. I'll plant information where Carlos will find it. Make it look like insider knowledge he's stumbled across. The key is making him believe he's discovered this opportunity on his own." We spent the next hour planning every detail. Rebecca would use her contacts in the real estate industry to create convincing documentation. I would maintain my normal routine while secretly documenting Jennifer's activities and securing evidence of the theft. "One more thing," Rebecca said as we prepared to leave. "Don't underestimate how dangerous this could become. Carlos has connections with some very unsavory people from his gambling days. If he realizes we're onto him, he might not just disappear quietly." The warning sent a chill down my spine, but I was past the point of backing down. Jennifer and Carlos had stolen more than just money. They'd stolen 12 years of trust and love. I wanted them to pay for that betrayal. That evening, I returned home to find Jennifer in the kitchen, humming while she prepared dinner. She looked so normal, so innocent, that for a moment I almost convinced myself the whole thing was a mistake. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, kissing my cheek with the same warmth she'd shown that morning. "The usual, quarterly reports and client meetings." I forced myself to smile. "Something smells amazing." "Your favorite pot roast, just like I promised." She squeezed my hand affectionately. "I thought we could open that bottle of wine we've been saving, celebrate another successful quarter." The irony was almost unbearable. Here she was, playing the loving wife, while planning to rob me blind. I wondered how many other moments like this had been complete fabrications. "That sounds perfect," I managed to say. As we sat down to dinner, Jennifer chattered about her day at work, spinning elaborate stories about client presentations and office politics. Every word felt like another layer of deception, but I maintained my facade of interested attention. "Oh, I almost forgot," she said casually. "I might need to work late a few nights this week. We're launching a new campaign and the timeline is really tight." More lies. More opportunities for her to meet with Carlos and plan my financial ruin. But now, I would be ready for them. "Of course, sweetheart. I understand how important your work is." The words tasted like ash in my mouth, but Jennifer smiled appreciatively. After dinner, I retreated to my home office under the pretense of finishing quarterly reports. Instead, I began documenting everything Rebecca had shown me, creating my own evidence file. I also started monitoring our joint accounts more carefully, noting every suspicious transaction. The next morning brought a text from Rebecca. "Phase 1 initiated. Our friend should receive some interesting information today." I spent the day at my office trying to focus on legitimate work, while my phone buzzed with updates from Rebecca. She'd managed to plant information about the fake investment opportunity through a mutual acquaintance who owed Carlos money. The bait was in the water. That evening, Jennifer seemed unusually excited about something, though she tried to hide it. She kept checking her phone and smiling secretively. When I asked about her mood, she claimed she was just happy about a successful presentation at work. "Actually," she said over dessert, "I've been thinking we should take a vacation soon, maybe somewhere tropical. We've both been working so hard lately." A vacation. Probably their cover story for disappearing to Costa Rica with my money. The audacity was breathtaking. "That sounds wonderful," I replied. "Did you have somewhere specific in mind?" "Oh, I haven't really researched it yet. Just a thought." She waved dismissively, but I caught the calculating look in her eyes. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Jennifer maintained her loving wife routine while clearly planning something significant behind the scenes. Her phone conversations became more secretive, and she started staying late at work more frequently. Meanwhile, Rebecca kept me updated on Carlos's growing interest in the fake investment opportunity. He'd apparently spent considerable time researching the supposed real estate deal, trying to verify its legitimacy. Rebecca had done her homework well. The documentation would pass casual inspection. "He's definitely taking the bait," she reported during one of our careful phone conversations. "But we need to make him believe the opportunity is time-sensitive. Otherwise, he might still decide to flee with what they've already stolen." "How do we do that?" "We make him think other investors are circling. Create some urgency. I'm going to have my real estate contact mention that the deal might close earlier than expected." The psychological manipulation felt strange, but I reminded myself that Carlos and Jennifer had been manipulating me for years. Turnabout seemed fair. By the end of the week, the pressure was clearly getting to Jennifer. She seemed nervous, distracted, constantly checking her phone. During dinner on Friday night, she could barely maintain a conversation. "Is everything all right?" I asked, genuinely curious about what was troubling her. "Just work stress," she said quickly. "This new campaign is really demanding. Maybe you should take a personal day. You seem exhausted." Jennifer's expression flickered with something that might have been guilt. For a moment, I thought she might confess everything. Instead, she forced another smile. "I'll be fine. Just need to get through this project." That night, I lay awake listening to Jennifer's breathing, wondering how many nights I'd slept beside someone who was systematically betraying me. The woman I'd planned to grow old with was nothing more than an accomplished actress playing a role. Saturday morning brought the breakthrough Rebecca and I had been waiting for. She called while Jennifer was at her supposed yoga class. Carlos took the bait completely, Rebecca reported. He's convinced the investment opportunity is legitimate and potentially worth millions. But here's the interesting part. He's trying to figure out how to access your retirement accounts to invest more money. What do you mean? According to my source, Carlos has been researching ways to liquidate retirement funds for investment purposes. He thinks if they can access your 401k and IRA, they could multiply their theft exponentially. The greed was staggering. Not content with stealing hundreds of thousands, Carlos wanted to take everything I'd saved for the future, but his ambition might also be his downfall. This is perfect, I said. If we can catch him attempting to access my retirement accounts illegally, we'll have solid evidence of fraud. Exactly. But we need to be careful about how we set this up. I'm thinking we create a situation where Carlos believes he needs to act quickly, but we're actually documenting everything. We spent Saturday planning the next phase of our operation. Rebecca would feed Carlos information suggesting that the investment opportunity might disappear if he couldn't commit significant funds immediately. Meanwhile, I would set up monitoring on all my financial accounts to catch any unauthorized access attempts. Sunday dinner with Jennifer felt like a surreal performance. She seemed increasingly agitated, checking her phone constantly and barely touching her food. When I suggested we watch a movie together, she claimed she needed to prepare for Monday's meetings. "You're working too hard," I observed. "When was the last time we just relaxed together?" Jennifer's laugh sounded forced. "Soon, honey, I promise. After this project wraps up, we'll have more time together." More lies. According to Rebecca's intelligence, Carlos and Jennifer were planning to make their final move within days. The fake investment opportunity had accelerated their timeline, exactly as we'd hoped. Monday brought confirmation that our trap was working. Rebecca called with news that Carlos had approached a financial advisor about accessing retirement funds quickly. He'd used my name and personal information, claiming to represent me in exploring investment options. "He's getting desperate," Rebecca explained. "The fake opportunity has made him greedy, but he's running out of time to access your larger accounts. I think he's going to make a mistake soon." That evening, Jennifer announced she would be working very late, possibly not coming home until morning. "We're in crunch mode," she explained apologetically. "I might just sleep at the office." "Of course," I replied. "I understand." After she left, I activated the monitoring software Rebecca had helped me install on our home computer. If Carlos or Jennifer tried to access my financial accounts from here, we'd have complete documentation. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with an alert. Someone was attempting to log into my retirement account using our home computer. I watched in real time as they navigated through the account interface, clearly looking for ways to liquidate funds. The IP address confirmed the access was coming from our house, which meant Jennifer had returned without my knowledge. She was probably in the basement office, thinking I was asleep upstairs. I crept downstairs quietly, my heart pounding with a mixture of anger and anticipation. Through the partially open office door, I could see Jennifer hunched over the computer, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. She was on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. "I'm in the retirement account now," she whispered, "but the transfer limits are lower than we thought. We might need to do this in stages." Carlos's voice was barely audible through the phone speaker, but I caught fragments. "Can't wait much longer," and "other investors moving fast." Jennifer typed rapidly, clearly attempting to initiate transfers. But Rebecca and I had anticipated this. Earlier that day, I'd contacted my financial institution and placed security holds on all major transactions. Any significant transfer would require in-person verification. "It's not working," Jennifer said, frustration creeping into her voice. "The system is requiring additional verification for transfers over $10,000. I retreated upstairs before she could discover me, my mind racing with possibilities. We had them attempting electronic fraud, but we needed more evidence to ensure criminal charges would stick. The next morning, Jennifer looked exhausted and stressed. She claimed she'd worked until dawn and barely gotten any sleep at the office. Her performance was becoming less convincing as the pressure mounted. "Maybe you should see a doctor," I suggested. "You've been looking run down lately." "I'm fine," she snapped, then caught herself. "Sorry, honey. I'm just tired. This project should be finished soon." Rebecca called later that morning with an update. "Carlos is panicking about the investment deadline. He's been calling everyone he knows, trying to find ways to access large amounts of cash quickly. I think it's time for the final phase." "What do you have in mind?" "We make him believe you're about to discover their theft. Create a scenario where they feel forced to make a desperate move, something so obvious that even the most incompetent investigator could build a case." The plan Rebecca outlined was elegant in its simplicity. We would stage a situation where Carlos believed I was becoming suspicious about the missing money. Faced with immediate exposure, he would likely attempt something desperate and easily documented. That evening, I initiated the plan by leaving a voicemail on our home answering machine, knowing Jennifer would hear it when she returned. The message was from Rebecca, using a fake name, claiming to be a bank investigator looking into suspicious account activity. When Jennifer came home that night, I watched her face as she played the message. The color drained from her cheeks, and her hands trembled slightly. "Who was that?" I asked innocently. "Probably a scam call," she replied, but her voice was shaky. "You know how these fraud callers operate." Within an hour, Jennifer had excused herself to make a private phone call. I could hear her urgent whispers from the kitchen, clearly warning Carlos about the supposed bank investigation. The next morning brought exactly the reaction we'd hoped for. Jennifer announced she was taking a personal day to handle some urgent matters. After she left, Rebecca called with news that Carlos had been seen at 3 different banks, attempting to make large cash withdrawals from accounts connected to their scheme. "He's in full panic mode," Rebecca reported. "My contact at First National said he tried to withdraw $50,000 in cash, claiming it was for a real estate investment. When they asked for documentation, he became belligerent and left." The desperation was making Carlos sloppy, exactly as we'd predicted. Each failed attempt to access money was being documented by bank security systems. The evidence was mounting rapidly. That afternoon, I received a call from my actual bank's fraud department. "Mr. Thompson, we've had several unusual requests related to your accounts today. Someone claiming to be your financial advisor has been trying to authorize large transfers. We wanted to verify these requests with you directly." "I haven't authorized any transfers," I told them, "and I don't currently use a financial advisor." "We suspected as much. We've flagged all your accounts for additional security monitoring. If anyone attempts unauthorized access, we'll contact law enforcement immediately." The net was closing around Carlos and Jennifer, but I felt no satisfaction, only a deep sadness about the destruction of everything I'd believed about my marriage. That evening, Jennifer was a wreck. She could barely maintain conversation during dinner, constantly checking her phone and jumping at every sound. When I suggested we talk about whatever was troubling her, she claimed everything was fine. "Jennifer," I said gently, "we've been married 12 years. I can tell when something's wrong. If you're in some kind of trouble, maybe I can help." For a moment, her facade cracked completely. I saw fear, guilt, and something that might have been regret flash across her face. But then the mask slipped back into place. "I'm just tired, David. Work has been incredibly stressful lately." "Maybe you should quit," I suggested. "We have enough savings that you could take some time off, figure out what you really want to do." The mention of savings made Jennifer flinch visibly. She knew exactly how much of our savings had already disappeared into Carlos's accounts. "That's sweet of you to offer," she said carefully, "but I need to finish this current project first." Wednesday morning brought the final confrontation sooner than expected. I was reviewing client files in my home office when I heard Jennifer on the phone in the kitchen, her voice raised and desperate. "We have to leave now," she was saying. David is getting suspicious, and the banks are asking questions. If we wait any longer, we'll lose everything. Carlos's response was loud enough for me to hear. We can't leave yet. The investment opportunity closes tomorrow. If we can just get access to his retirement money, we'll have enough to disappear forever. It's too risky, Jennifer argued. That bank investigator called yesterday. They're on to us. That was probably nothing. These rich guys get scam calls all the time. You're panicking over nothing. I crept closer to the kitchen, recording the conversation on my phone. Every word was more evidence of their conspiracy. Carlos, I'm serious. We need to take what we have and go. Today. And I'm telling you, we're not leaving millions on the table because you're scared. Tonight, you're going to get me everything I need to access those retirement accounts. Social security number, account passwords, everything. I won't do it, Jennifer said firmly. It's gone too far already. You'll do it because you're in this as deep as I am, sister. Try to back out now and I'll make sure David knows exactly how long you've been planning this. Sister. The word hit me like a physical blow. Jennifer and Carlos weren't just partners in crime. They were siblings. Everything about our meeting, our courtship, our marriage had been an elaborate long-term con. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with the implications. The woman I'd loved for 12 years was Carlos's sister, planted in my life specifically to rob me. Every moment of affection, every intimate conversation, every shared dream had been a performance. The kitchen conversation continued, but I could barely process the words through my shock and rage. I had to get out of the house before I did something I'd regret. I grabbed my keys and drove aimlessly through Portland's streets, trying to process the magnitude of the betrayal. Not only had Jennifer been stealing from me, but our entire relationship was a fraud. She'd probably been reporting back to Carlos from the very beginning, sharing intimate details of our life together while planning my financial destruction. My phone rang. Rebecca. David, where are you? I've been trying to reach you. Did you know? I asked without preamble. Did you know Jennifer and Carlos are siblings? Silence on the other end of the line. Then, I suspected, but I wasn't certain. David, I'm sorry. I should have. How long have you known? I started suspecting when I saw how coordinated their operation was. The level of planning and patience suggested a closer relationship than just criminal partners. When did you find out? I told her about the phone conversation I'd overheard. Rebecca listened without interruption, then sighed heavily. This changes things, she said. If Jennifer is Carlos's sister, then this conspiracy goes back much further than we thought. They've been planning this for years, possibly since before you even met her. The implications were staggering. Every milestone in our relationship, our first date, moving in together, getting married, had all been calculated moves in an elaborate theft scheme. What do we do now? I asked. We finish this. Tonight. Carlos is getting desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. But David, you need to be very careful. If they realize you know the truth, they might become dangerous. Rebecca was right. I needed to maintain my facade of ignorance long enough to gather the final pieces of evidence. But the thought of pretending normalcy with Jennifer, knowing she was Carlos's sister and co-conspirator, made me feel physically ill. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. Yes, you can. Think about everything they've stolen from you. Not just the money, but 12 years of your life. They deserve to face justice for what they've done. I drove home with grim determination, preparing for the most difficult performance of my life. Jennifer was waiting in the living room, looking anxious and guilty. Where did you go? She asked. I was worried when I couldn't find you. Just needed some air. Work stress, you know. I forced myself to kiss her cheek, fighting the urge to recoil from her touch. David, there's something I need to tell you, Jennifer began, and for a moment I thought she might confess everything. What is it? I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about taking time off work. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should quit and we could travel together, see the world. Another lie. She was probably trying to gauge whether I suspected their travel plans. That sounds wonderful, I replied. We could start planning something for next month. Jennifer's smile was strained. Actually, I was thinking we might want to move faster than that. Life is short, you know. Maybe we should just pick a destination and go. What about your current project? I thought you needed to finish it first. It's not as important as our relationship, she said, taking my hand. I've been working too much lately, neglecting what really matters. The irony was almost unbearable. Here she was, talking about our relationship while planning to abandon me penniless in a foreign country. Let me think about it, I said. A spontaneous trip sounds exciting, but I'd need to arrange coverage for my clients. That evening, I pretended to work in my office while actually coordinating with Rebecca for the final phase of our plan. She'd arranged for law enforcement to monitor our house overnight, ready to document any criminal activity. Whatever happens tonight, don't try to intervene directly, Rebecca warned. Let them incriminate themselves, then let the authorities handle it. Around midnight, I heard Jennifer moving around downstairs. Through my office window, I saw Carlos's car parked across the street. He'd come to collect whatever information Jennifer had gathered about my financial accounts. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened to their conversation in the kitchen. I have everything you asked for, Jennifer was saying. Account numbers, passwords, security questions. But Carlos, I'm telling you this is a mistake. We should take what we have and leave tonight. Stop being such a coward, Carlos replied harshly. By tomorrow night, we'll have enough money to live like royalty for the rest of our lives. All you have to do is keep David distracted for one more day. And then what? He'll figure out we're gone when the money disappears. The police will be looking for us within hours. Let them look. We'll be in Costa Rica with new identities and more money than they could ever trace. David will be left with nothing, just like he deserves. What do you mean, like he deserves? Jennifer asked. Come on, sis. You've been living with the guy for 12 years. You know what a smug, self-satisfied jerk he is. Always acting like he's better than everyone else because he has money. It'll be satisfying to take him down a few pegs. The casual cruelty in Carlos's voice was chilling. To him, I wasn't even a person, just a target to be exploited and discarded. He's not like that, Jennifer said quietly. David is actually a good man. He doesn't deserve what we're doing to him. Don't tell me you're developing feelings for the mark, Carlos said with disgust. This is business, Jennifer. You knew that from the beginning. It was supposed to be a simple con. Take some money and disappear. But 12 years, Carlos. 12 years of living with him, pretending to love him. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? I know what 12 years of his money is going to do for us, Carlos replied coldly. So save the guilt trip and focus on finishing the job. I heard papers rustling as Jennifer handed over my financial information. Every account number, every password, every security detail needed to steal my life savings. This should be everything, Jennifer said. The retirement accounts are the largest, but they have additional security measures. You'll need to be careful about how you approach those. Let me worry about that. Your job is to keep David occupied tomorrow while I handle the transfers. Can you manage that without having a crisis of conscience? I can do it, Jennifer said, but her voice lacked conviction. Good, because if you screw this up now, we both go down. And I promise you, if I'm going to prison, I'm not going alone. The threat was clear. Even if Jennifer wanted to back out, Carlos wouldn't let her. She was trapped by 12 years of criminal conspiracy, just as I'd been trapped by 12 years of lies. After Carlos left, I waited for Jennifer to come upstairs. She moved quietly through the house, checking locks and turning off lights. When she finally came to bed, she lay awake for a long time, staring at the ceiling. "David," she whispered, "are you awake?" I pretended to be asleep, curious about what she might say. "I'm sorry," she continued, so quietly I almost didn't hear. "I'm so sorry for everything." You deserved better than this. You deserved better than me. The words might have meant something if they'd been followed by confession or an attempt to make things right. Instead, Jennifer turned over and went to sleep, preparing for another day of deception. Thursday morning arrived gray and rainy, matching my mood perfectly. Jennifer seemed nervous but determined as she prepared breakfast, maintaining her loving wife routine even as she planned my financial ruin. I was thinking, she said over coffee, maybe we should start looking at vacation destinations today, somewhere tropical, like we discussed. That sounds perfect, I replied. Did you have anywhere specific in mind? Costa Rica, maybe. I've heard it's beautiful this time of year. Of course. She was still trying to plant the idea of their escape destination, probably hoping I'd suggest the trip myself. Costa Rica sounds amazing, I said. Very romantic. Jennifer's smile faltered slightly at the word romantic. Maybe some part of her still felt guilty about the betrayal, but not enough to stop it. After she left for her fake job, I called Rebecca with an update. They're making their move today. Carlos has all my account information, and Jennifer is trying to convince me to plan a trip to Costa Rica. Perfect. Law enforcement is ready to move as soon as Carlos attempts the transfers. Are you prepared for what comes next? As ready as I can be. The truth was, I felt hollow inside. Even knowing I was about to get justice, the betrayal had left me emotionally drained. David, I want you to know how sorry I am that it came to this. Jennifer and Carlos have destroyed something precious, and I know that's not something money can replace. Rebecca was right. Even if I recovered every stolen dollar, I could never recover the 12 years of genuine love and trust I'd invested in a lie. The day passed slowly as I waited for news. Around 2 p.m., Rebecca called with an update. Carlos just attempted to transfer $200,000 from your retirement account to an offshore bank. The transaction was flagged immediately, and law enforcement is moving to arrest him now. What about Jennifer? They'll pick her up at her supposed workplace. David, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to be very public and very painful. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Jennifer, and she sounded panicked. David, something terrible has happened. The police just arrested Carlos. They're saying he tried to steal money from your accounts. I don't understand what's going on. Even now, she was trying to maintain her innocence. The performance was impressive, but I was done being an audience. Where are you, Jennifer? I asked calmly. At work. The police want to talk to me because Carlos used my name on some documents. David, I'm scared. Can you come pick me up? Of course, I lied. I'll be right there. Instead, I called Rebecca. Jennifer just called. She's still pretending to be innocent, asking me to pick her up. Don't do it. Let the police handle this. They should be arresting her within the hour. I need to see this through, I said. I need to look her in the eye when her lies finally fall apart. Against Rebecca's advice, I drove to Jennifer's supposed workplace. I'd never actually been to her office, I realized. In 12 years of marriage, she'd never once invited me to visit her at work. The address led to a small business park. When I asked the security guard about Jennifer's company, he looked confused. There's no marketing firm here, he said. That suite has been empty for 6 months. Another lie. Jennifer had probably been meeting Carlos somewhere else entirely, planning my destruction while I believed she was building her career. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Parking garage, level B2. Come alone. It was Jennifer. Somehow she'd evaded the police and was trying to arrange a final meeting. Against my better judgment, I followed the directions to a downtown parking garage. I found her on the second basement level, sitting in her Honda with the engine running. She looked exhausted and defeated, no longer bothering to maintain her facade of innocence. You know, she said as I approached the car. It wasn't a question. I know everything, I replied. The theft, the fake identity, Carlos being your brother. All of it. Jennifer nodded slowly. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything you've done. The police have Carlos, and they'll have you soon enough. I figured as much when they arrested him. She stared straight ahead, not meeting my eyes. I suppose you want an explanation? I want to know if any of it was real, I said. 12 years, Jennifer. 12 years of marriage. Was any of it genuine? For the first time, she looked directly at me, and I saw tears in her eyes. It was supposed to be simple. Meet you, marry you, take some money, and disappear. Carlos said it would take maybe 2 years, 3 at most. But it took 12. Because I couldn't go through with it, she said quietly. Every time Carlos pushed me to finish the con, I found reasons to delay. I told myself I was being careful, making sure we didn't get caught. But the truth was, I didn't want it to end. So you did develop feelings for me. Jennifer laughed bitterly. Feelings? David, I fell in love with you completely. The man I was supposed to be conning became the most important person in my world. Do you have any idea how that feels? Then why didn't you stop? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Because I was a coward, she said simply. I was terrified you'd hate me if you knew what I really was. And Carlos had too much leverage. He knew I'd committed crimes that could send me to prison for years. So you kept stealing from me instead. I tried to minimize it. Every time Carlos demanded more money, I gave him as little as possible. I kept hoping I could find a way out that wouldn't destroy everything. The explanation was heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time. Jennifer had genuinely loved me, but not enough to choose honesty over self-preservation. There was no way out, I told her. The moment you started this con, you made your choice. I know that now, she said. David, I want you to know that loving you was the most real thing in my life. Everything else was lies and pretense, but what I felt for you was genuine. It doesn't matter, I said, though part of me wanted to believe her. Love without honesty isn't really love at all. Jennifer nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. I've destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. In the distance, I could hear sirens approaching. The police had tracked her down. I need to go, Jennifer said, putting the car in gear. David, I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not just for stealing from you, but for stealing 12 years of your life that you could have spent with someone who deserved your love. Where will you go? I asked. I don't know. Somewhere Carlos can't find me when he gets out of prison. He's going to blame me for everything falling apart. The sirens were getting closer. Jennifer looked at me one last time. Goodbye, David. I hope someday you can find it in your heart to forgive me, even if I can never forgive myself. She drove away just as police cars entered the parking garage. I watched her Honda disappear up the exit ramp, knowing I'd probably never see her again. The aftermath of Jennifer and Carlos's arrest consumed the next several weeks of my life. Police interviews, financial audits, insurance claims, and legal proceedings filled my days with bureaucratic complexity. Rebecca proved invaluable during this period, helping me navigate the recovery process and providing testimony about Carlos's criminal history. The district attorney is confident about the charges, she told me during one of our meetings at the courthouse. Carlos is looking at 15 to 20 years for wire fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. Jennifer's sentence will probably be lighter since she's cooperating with the investigation. What does that mean exactly? I asked. She's providing information about other potential victims. Apparently, you weren't Carlos's first target. The DA thinks there might be a pattern of similar cons going back years. The idea that other people had suffered similar betrayals was somehow both comforting and disturbing. Comforting because it meant I wasn't uniquely gullible, disturbing because it highlighted the calculating nature of Carlos's criminal enterprise. Have they recovered much of the stolen money? About 60% so far, Rebecca replied. Carlos was smart about hiding assets, but not smart enough. The financial crimes unit is optimistic they'll recover most of it eventually. Most of it. Not all. Some of my life savings would never be recovered, lost to Carlos's greed and Jennifer's betrayal. But the financial loss, painful as it was, seemed less important than the emotional devastation. Any word on Jennifer's whereabouts? I found myself asking, though I wasn't sure why. Rebecca's expression grew concerned. David, you need to let that go. Jennifer made her choices. She's a fugitive now, and getting involved with her situation will only cause you more pain. I knew she was right, but I couldn't stop thinking about our final conversation in the parking garage. Jennifer's tears had seemed genuine, her regret real. But then again, she'd been deceiving me for 12 years. How could I trust anything about her emotional expressions? The house felt impossibly empty without Jennifer's presence. Every room held memories that now felt contaminated by knowledge of her deception. The kitchen where she'd made breakfast while planning my ruin, the bedroom where she'd lain beside me while coordinating with Carlos, the living room where we'd watched movies and planned a future that was never real. I considered selling the house and starting fresh somewhere else, but that felt like letting Carlos and Jennifer win. They'd already stolen my money and my trust. I wouldn't let them steal my home too. Instead, I threw myself into rebuilding my life. The accounting firm had suffered some disruption during the criminal investigation, but my clients remained loyal once they understood the situation. Several even increased their business with me, apparently impressed by how I'd handled the crisis. You showed real strength, said Margaret Chen, one of my oldest clients. A lot of people would have fallen apart after what you went through. I had good help, I replied, thinking of Rebecca's crucial assistance. And good friends. Still, it takes character to come back from that kind of betrayal. Jennifer and Carlos underestimated you. Margaret was probably right. Carlos had seen me as an easy mark, someone too trusting and naive to fight back effectively. He'd been wrong about that, though the victory felt hollow. 3 months after the arrests, I received an unexpected phone call from Detective Williams, the lead investigator on the case. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to give you an update on the investigation. We've arrested 3 additional suspects connected to Carlos Martinez's operation. Your case helped us uncover a much larger criminal network. That's good news, I said, though I felt no satisfaction about it. There's something else. Jennifer Martinez contacted us through her attorney. She wants to provide additional testimony about the criminal network, but she's specifically requested to speak with you first. The request caught me completely off guard. Why would she want to speak with me? According to her attorney, she has information that could help you recover more of your stolen assets, but she'll only share it if you agree to meet with her. I should have said no immediately. Rebecca would certainly advise against it, and my rational mind knew that any contact with Jennifer was a mistake. But curiosity and some deeper emotional need made me hesitate. Where is she? I asked. That's confidential, but if you agree to the meeting, we can arrange it at a secure location with law enforcement present. I need to think about it. Of course. But Mr. Thompson, I should warn you, Jennifer Martinez is still facing serious charges. Anything she tells you might be motivated by her legal situation rather than genuine remorse. After the detective hung up, I sat in my office staring out at the Portland skyline, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to see Jennifer again, to get answers to questions that had been haunting me for months. But another part recognized the danger in reopening that emotional wound. I called Rebecca for advice. Absolutely not, she said immediately. David, Jennifer is manipulating you again. She's facing prison time and looking for any advantage she can get. Don't give her the opportunity to hurt you again. But what if she really does have information that could help recover more of the money? Then she can share it with the police without involving you personally. There's no legitimate reason she needs to speak with you directly. Rebecca was right, of course, but that evening, as I sat alone in the house that had once felt like a home, I found myself thinking about Jennifer's final words in the parking garage. Her claim that loving me had been the most real thing in her life. Was it possible that someone could genuinely love a person while systematically betraying them? The question had been eating at me for months, and I realized I needed an answer more than I needed to recover the remaining stolen money. The next morning, I called Detective Williams and agreed to the meeting. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "We can handle the information gathering without putting you through an emotional confrontation." "I'm sure," I said, though I wasn't sure at all. The meeting was arranged for the following week at a federal building downtown. Jennifer would be transported from wherever she was hiding, and I would have the opportunity to hear whatever information she claimed to possess. Rebecca was furious when I told her about my decision. "This is exactly what she wants," Rebecca argued. "Jennifer knows she has an emotional hold on you, and she's using it to manipulate the situation. You're walking into another one of her cons." "Maybe," I admitted, "but I need to know the truth about what she felt during our marriage. I can't move forward until I understand that." "The truth is that she stole from you for 12 years while pretending to love you. What more do you need to know?" I couldn't explain it to Rebecca because I didn't fully understand it myself. But something about Jennifer's final confession had felt different from all her previous lies. If there was even a chance that her love had been genuine, I needed to know. The week passed slowly as I prepared for the meeting. I rehearsed what I wanted to say, the questions I needed answered, but I also tried to steel myself for the possibility that this was just another manipulation, another layer of deception designed to serve Jennifer's interests. The federal building was intimidating, all concrete and security checkpoints. Detective Williams met me in the lobby and escorted me through multiple layers of security to a small conference room on the 4th floor. "She'll be here in a few minutes," he said. "Remember, this conversation is being recorded and we'll be monitoring from the next room. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, just signal and we'll end the meeting." I nodded, my heart pounding with anticipation and dread. A few minutes later, the door opened and Jennifer walked in, flanked by 2 federal marshals. She looked different, thinner, older, with dark circles under her eyes. The confident woman who had shared my bed and my life had been replaced by someone who looked haunted and fragile. "Hello, David," she said quietly, taking the seat across from me at the small table. "Jennifer." The marshals positioned themselves by the door while Detective Williams stepped out, leaving us with the illusion of privacy despite the obvious surveillance. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," Jennifer said. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't. What information do you have about my stolen money?" Jennifer reached into a folder and pulled out several documents. "Carlos had additional accounts that the police haven't found yet. Offshore investments, cryptocurrency wallets, real estate purchases made through shell companies. I have the account numbers and access codes." She slid the documents across the table. Even from a quick glance, I could see they represented significant assets, possibly enough to recover most of my remaining losses. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked. "What do you want in return?" "I want you to understand something," Jennifer said, her voice barely above a whisper. "When I told you that loving you was real, I meant it. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I needed you to know that. Why does it matter what I believe? You're facing prison time regardless." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Because you were the only good thing in my life, and I destroyed it. I can't undo what I did, but I can at least try to make the financial part right." "The financial part was the least important part," I said, surprising myself with the admission. "I know. The real damage was to your ability to trust, to love someone completely. I stole that from you, and I can never give it back." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 12 years of deception hanging between us. "Tell me about the beginning," I said finally. "When we first met. Was any of that real?" Jennifer closed her eyes as if the memory was painful. "Carlos sent me to that charity gala specifically to meet you. He'd researched your background, knew you'd be there, knew you were recently divorced and potentially vulnerable. So the meeting was planned. Yes. But David, everything that happened after that first conversation was real. You were supposed to be just another Mark. But you were different. Kind, genuine, interested in me as a person rather than just an attractive woman at a party. But you still went through with the con. I tried not to. After our third date, I told Carlos I wanted out. You were too good a person to destroy for money. What changed your mind? Jennifer's voice became bitter. Carlos threatened to hurt you if I backed out. He said he'd already invested too much time and money in the setup to let me walk away. If I wouldn't cooperate, he'd find another way to get your money, probably something more violent. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. You're saying you married me to protect me? I'm saying I married you because I loved you, but I stayed in the con because Carlos convinced me it was the only way to keep you safe. He said if I could just transfer small amounts over time, eventually he'd have enough and would leave us alone. But it never stopped. No. Carlos kept demanding more, always claiming it would be the last time, and I was too much of a coward to tell you the truth and ask for help. I studied Jennifer's face, looking for signs of deception, but her pain seemed genuine, her regret real. Even if that's all true, I said, you still chose to steal from me rather than trust me with the truth. You're right, Jennifer admitted. I was selfish and cowardly. I was so afraid of losing you that I chose to betray you instead. It doesn't make sense, but that's what I did. And now you're giving me this information because I want you to know that my love was real, even if everything else was a lie, and because I want you to get your money back so you can rebuild your life with someone who deserves you. The conversation was emotionally exhausting, but I needed to ask one more question. If you could go back to the beginning, knowing everything you know now, what would you do differently? Jennifer didn't hesitate. I would tell you the truth on our fourth date, when I realized I was falling in love with you. I would explain about Carlos's plan and ask for your help stopping it. Even if it meant risking your rejection, it would have been better than 12 years of lies. And if I had rejected you? Then at least I would have preserved your ability to trust someone else completely. That's worth more than any amount of money. Detective Williams knocked on the door, signaling that our time was nearly up. What happens to you now? I asked. Prison, probably for several years. But David, I want you to know that I'll spend that time thinking about the life we could have had if I'd been brave enough to choose honesty over fear. Jennifer, I said, as the marshals prepared to escort her out, for what it's worth, I believe you about your feelings being real. That doesn't excuse what you did, but I believe you. She smiled through her tears. Thank you. That means more to me than you'll ever know. After Jennifer left, I sat alone in the conference room, processing everything she'd told me. Detective Williams returned with questions about the financial documents, but I could barely focus on the details. The information Jennifer provided did prove valuable. Within 2 weeks, law enforcement had traced and frozen the additional accounts she'd identified. The recovered assets were substantial enough to restore most of my financial losses. But more importantly, I finally had the answers I'd been seeking. Jennifer's love had been genuine, even if her actions had been inexcusable. She'd been trapped by her own cowardice and Carlos's manipulation, choosing the path of least resistance even when it meant betraying the person she claimed to love. Understanding her motivations didn't excuse her actions, but it did provide a kind of closure. I could finally begin the process of rebuilding my life without the constant question of whether our entire relationship had been a performance. Rebecca was relieved when I told her about the recovered assets, but concerned about my emotional state after the meeting. You seem different, she observed, more settled somehow. I got the answers I needed, I explained. Jennifer's feelings were real, but she was too afraid to act on them honestly. It's tragic, but it's not my tragedy anymore. Are you saying you forgive her? I'm saying I understand her. Forgiveness might come eventually, but understanding is enough for now. Over the following months, I focused on rebuilding my life with a clearer sense of who I was and what I wanted. The accounting firm continued to prosper, and I began socializing again, slowly building new friendships and considering the possibility of future relationships. The house no longer felt haunted by Jennifer's presence. I'd come to understand that the good memories from our marriage were real, even if they'd been built on a foundation of lies. Jennifer's love had been genuine, even if her courage had failed her when it mattered most. 6 months after our final meeting, I received a letter from Jennifer's attorney. She had been sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, but would be eligible for parole in 3 years with good behavior. The letter included a personal note from Jennifer. "David, I hope you're rebuilding your life and finding happiness again. I think about you every day and hope that someday you'll be able to trust someone completely again. You deserve that kind of love, the honest kind I was too afraid to give you. Thank you for believing that my feelings were real. It makes this easier to bear. Jennifer." I read the letter once, then filed it away with the other documents from the case. Jennifer was part of my past now, a chapter that had ended with more understanding than I'd thought possible. The betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but surviving it had made me stronger and wiser. I'd learned to trust my instincts, to value honesty above comfort, and to understand that real love requires courage as much as feeling. Most importantly, I'd learned that I could survive the worst kind of betrayal and still believe in the possibility of genuine love. Jennifer's cowardice had cost us both dearly, but it hadn't destroyed my capacity for trust entirely. As I looked toward the future, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: hope. The scars from Jennifer and Carlos's betrayal would always be with me, but they no longer defined my entire emotional landscape. I was ready to begin again, older and wiser, but still capable of love. And this time, I would choose someone brave enough to love me honestly, even when honesty was difficult. The story of my marriage to Jennifer was over, but the story of my life was just beginning a new chapter, and for the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to seeing how it would unfold.